Getting ready to figure out how I'm going to mount the amplifiers that match each other. I'm going to mount them to the board. I'm going to mount the fuse block to the board. I'm going to run all the pertinent wires that I can to the board before I even put it in the truck. And yes, it will be painted before I put it in the truck. Just trying to determine where the fuse block needs to go. That way it has short runs. I have only one of the fancy covers, so I'm probably going to make a plexiglass cover to cover the wires and everything and extend it out a little bit or something. I don't know, I haven't got that far yet. Alright, I know there's not a difference in the color, but they all go to where they're supposed to go. Got the pass-through in. The front and rear is going to come in through there. Speaker wire, remote, all that can be done in the truck. I got all the important stuff hooked up right now though. Look at all the pretty stuff. It is box making time today. Some old stuff that I had left over out of my fiberglass box from last time. I got some of this cloth, tape. Stole that out of the house. Got to give that back to the wife. Saran wrap. What you do is you cover the bottom of it with saran wrap to keep the fiberglass from eating through when you paint it with the fiberglass. And then once you get a bottom plug, then you basically just put the top on it. Alright. Wish me luck. 30 minutes, a bottle, and a diaper, and a nap later. I have got... It's not the prettiest in the world, but it follows all the corners. It's within a 1/16 of an inch of laying flat in all the corners. It is, for all intents and purposes, wrapped. Okay, so there's a bunch of ways that you can do fiberglass. You can just lay the chop mat or the mat down and fiberglass it down and let it harden and then layer it up. I like using fleece because it stretches one way. I can spray glue it to my thing, cut the corners, wrap, contour, make it all nice and pretty, and then put on my first layer of fiberglass after I know that it's going to be tight down to where I want it. Sometimes with that stuff, you can paint it on and you'll go into a corner somewhere and it'll bubble up. So I feel like I can start with a fleece base and add fiberglass mat on top of that and end up with a better result. So what I'm going to do is I made my little puckers on the corner. I'm going to spray glue it, start getting it stuck down, cut these puckers out in the corners, and wrap the excess around and hopefully make it nice and tight like a present. And then I can come around and trim off what I don't like at the bottom. Alright, so I got it spray glued down. I've got 2 of the corners going. And I'm working on one of the third ones. And just whenever you're cutting it, pick up the pucker and just cut the pucker out, leaving a little bit on the ends. That way you have something to fold over later. And then this one, with the step down and all of this, that'll be fun, but we'll get her done. Okay, a couple minutes later, I've got it all contoured out, all glued all the way around. Getting ready to put the first layer of fiberglass on it, and go unload a loaded truck, or a truckload of wood. So, originally we had 6 ounces of resin, then I had to mix 6 more. I had a little bit left over. So I put a piece of mat on top, made 4 ounces more, got some done on the front, piece on the side, piece on the side. Don't mix your batches too big, because if you mix your batches too big and they start getting clumpy, then you'll start getting clumps. I do have a couple of clumps. We're going to let it get perfectly hard, hit it with a sander, get rid of some of these stringies, and then add our second layer. But while we're letting this get hard, I'm going to set it out in the sun, let the fumes get out of here, add more wires. Alright, so unless this side is just drastically different from the other side, this will be just what I did yesterday. Pop door panels off, run speaker wires through, run them back, get her done. You climbing up here.
Shut up.
You tell me to shut up. How about you don't be pushing buttons? You can tell somebody how to do something? What do you think of all this mess I've got going on?
Shut.
You don't like it, huh? What do you want to go do real quick? You gonna go ride something? You gonna go ride bike?
Shut.
Yeah. Alright, let's get out of here before you start tearing knobs off. So yesterday I was afraid to take the door panels loose. And when I did the rear one yesterday, this kind of happened on accident. Yeah. So don't be afraid to take your door cable loose. It just pops loose. And every single door panel that I've taken loose, there's been moisture around the speaker. Every single one of them. All three of them so far. I haven't took the back one loose back there yet, but that's next. So Fosgate has bass knobs. I like bass knobs. Look at this. You just pull on it, and the whole front end comes down. How convenient. Now we should figure out where we're going to put the bass knob. I don't have the bass knob yet, of course. But we will have one when I order it. That's awesome. Okay, so this seems like day 47. I really think it's more like day 12. Anyway, I really don't know. Yesterday, starting off, I only had 2 of the little sponge brushes, and sponges end up falling apart very quickly, but I like them. I like them because they have the little squeegee in the middle of the sponge, and you can use them to squeeze the resin into the fabric. And then I got some chip brushes. $1.96, $2. Should be enough to finish the project and have some left over. Alright, I got it took out of the tub. There's the tub, unscathed. The lip around the edge is rough. I only put 1 layer, and I barely put a layer of resin around that edge because I wanted it to be able to be a little floppy. Because when I put the piece of wood on top, I put some screws through the bottom, screw it down, and then fiberglass it around and make it solid. Also, I'm going to paint some fiberglass on the inside in here and make the inside all nice and smooth. The only problem I had taking it loose was a little bit of cellophane. Didn't want to come loose here and there. I basically just hit it with the torch, burn it out real quick. That way I can paint the inside of it with resin. Make it all nice and smooth. Okay, so with a little bit of order deliberation in my brain, I decided that I wasn't going to cut up a big old square sheet that I already had that would have been better than this sheet, but this sheet honestly come from the first speaker box that I ever built back in like 2004. 212s, 300 watts, and I thought it was awesome behind the seat of that Ranger before I cut it out. So, almost 16 years later, 17 years later, we're going to cut this up, make another speaker box out of it. Anytime you're cutting a piece of wood and you got a straight edge, use it. That way, you don't have to make a straight edge with your saw. So, I've marked out my 2, use the skill saw first. I'm going to do all my straight cuts, and then I'll come back and do any fine cuts. Probably won't use that at all. Rough cut before I clean them up. They match up decently well with each other. We'll get it sanded and attached and get it all cleaned up, and before I put fiberglass on it again, we'll test fit it into the truck again. Last night, while it was still attached to the plastic tub, it fit just fine. So, should fit just fine. Speaker will be recessed down through the top one. Should fit just fine, I hope. So right here is why I wanted these edges to stay floppy. That way, whenever it comes to screwing it down right here, especially on these edges where I knew it was going to be weird, I can push that down to the wood and it's not going to crack the fiberglass. Same thing back here on this edge. That lip under here kind of goes back up a little bit. So I knew that I'd have to leave that floppy so that it could come back out of the mold and all that stuff. Otherwise I would have broke it just trying to get it out. A little bit of tape residue come with it. Alright. So it's going to be a little bit of work. I'll get the speaker holes cut and I'll get this all mounted. And then I'll get back at fiberglassing again. So I got the big hole cut and I needed to cut the little hole 7 1/4. How did I make it concentric? That's how. Just use another trim ring off something. That it fits. Just put it back together again. Alright, I put some screws in it. I turned it upside down. I put it in the truck with 2 baffles and the seat won't close. So I'm going to pull one baffle back loose and see if the seat will close. There's the hole it's going in. I tried to fit it in there, but it's too thick. I think the double baffle is keeping it pushed up against that too hard and it won't let it close. So we'll probably go single baffle. And I'll just have to come up with a better grill for this up. Yay. That's a lot of work for no reason. We went single baffle. Still haven't cut all the screws off yet because before I didn't need to cut them off. Now I do. Went ahead and resin the inside of it and resin the outside of it and put another layer of the mat on the outside. At least the top half. The bottom half still needs to be done, but I still need to do some cutting and trimming around those screws to make sure everything's flat before I can attach the fiberglass to the wood properly. But into round 2 on the fiberglass, that's 3 layers, that's 3 layers, and then into here it gets into 2 into 1. So we want probably 4 or 5 layers on top and 4 or 5 layers around the edges before we're done. Let's let this dry for a while and then we'll come back at it.